All right. What is up, guys? Georgia completely dominated yet another SEC opponent. The final score was 37-0. 37-0. Second game in a row, Georgia shuts out an SEC opponent. This happened to be a top 10 Arkansas team. Arkansas is a very, very solid team. I think they'll win around 8 or 9 games this year. So nothing against Arkansas. Georgia is just that good. I know a lot of people gave Arkansas some, or at least Arkansas, a lot of people gave Arkansas a good chance in this game, especially with JT Daniels being out due to injury. We'll talk about that later. But Stetson Bennett came in. He just went a 7 of 11 for 72 yards passing. Didn't really need him to do much. I believe he had a couple rushes. He had 3 carries for 16 yards, did not get sacked. Threw one terrible pass that should have been intercepted. It wasn't. It was dropped. And Arkansas had 13 penalties in this game. 13. All 13 of these penalties came in the first 3 quarters. The fourth quarter, Arkansas, the game was just already out of reach. And unfortunately for Arkansas, it just didn't go their way at all today. Starting it off in the game, Georgia started the ball at the 25, marched down the field easily. I believe Georgia threw the ball 3 times, rushed it 6 times on that first drive. Offensive line completely dominated the front, especially in those first couple of drives, and in fact, the entire game. But in that first drive, the offensive line looked really, really good. I believe, yes, it was our boy Zeus who was able to carry the ball in to the end zone for like a 3-yard touchdown. And then Georgia got a 3-and-out. Arkansas went 3 plays and minus 10 yards to start out the game. And this game was just over right from the get-go, unfortunately, if you're an Arkansas fan. Georgia was running it down Arkansas's throat, something I actually didn't expect. Arkansas had one of the better rush defenses in the country. I believe they were top 15, averaging around 120 yards rushing allowed per game. That's pretty good. Georgia came in. Georgia was around, I think, 60th in the country in total rush offense, and they ran the ball for 56 times for over 270 yards and got 3 touchdowns. That's 4.9 yards per carry. Georgia, I know a lot of fans were saying Georgia cannot run the ball, but Georgia just came in and flat out stomped Arkansas's front 3. And Arkansas runs that 3-3-5 defense. Their defense coming into this game was, I think they were around top 10 in total yards allowed per game. Georgia wasn't able to do much through the air because of how well that rush offense was, and they completely dominated Arkansas on that line of scrimmage on both sides of the ball. Georgia's front 7, insane. We'll talk about that in a second. But to finish it off with this offense, as you can see with this ticker right down below, James Cook had 12 carries, 87 yards. Kendall Milton had 12 carries for about 48 yards and a touchdown. Zeus, he had 3 total touchdowns in this game, which was very exciting. But he had 16 carries, 68 yards, 2 touchdowns rushing, and then 1 recovery. And then even our boy Kenny McIntosh had 10 carries for 57 yards. Most of his carries came late in the second half. But yeah, Georgia was able to run the ball. Offense played pretty well. You can't start any better than what Georgia did in the first quarter. 21-0. It was 14-0. Georgia got 3 straight 3-and-outs in a row. Blocked. I think it was Dan Jackson blocked the punt, recovered by Zeus in the end zone, made it 21-0. And Arkansas, unfortunately, couldn't do anything in this entire game. Again, second straight shutout for the Dogs. Second straight shutout against SEC opponents. This is the first time since, I believe, 1980 that this has ever happened. The same year Georgia won the national title, just keep that in mind. But looking at this defense, Arkansas was held to just 162 yards. If we're being real, I believe Arkansas had 60 or 70 yards in the fourth quarter. But still, an insane start from the defense in an insane game throughout the entire game. KJ Jefferson just went 8 of 13 for, I think, 65 yards. Didn't throw an interception. Arkansas only had one turnover, and that came on the blocked punt. They just could not move the ball because of how bad their offensive line was playing. Fortunately for UGA, it was because of that front seven. Georgia's front seven was insane yet again. Sam Pittman, one of the best, if not the best, offensive line coaches in the country. He was upset through the entire game. I believe they had 5 false start penalties, 5. 4 of them coming in the first half. And that's just not how you're going to get it done if you're trying to upset the number 2 team in the country, especially on the road. And shout out to the crowd. The crowd was bumping in this game. Probably one of the, if we're being real here, one of the loudest crowds of the season. But looking how they ran the ball, this was one of the best rushing teams in the country coming into this game. They had 29 carries for 75 yards. 75 yards. And in the first half, they were held to, I think, 17 or 18 carries for like 38 yards. So, like I said last week, Arkansas was going to have to play really, really well on the offensive line and hold Georgia. I expected JT Daniels to play, obviously, but hold Georgia to about 21 to 24 points if they were going to have a shot in this game. And unfortunately for them, their offense just could never get going. This is how good Georgia's defense is, especially Jordan Davis, Devontae Wyatt, Jalen Carter. It all started in the middle of that defensive line for UGA. This is why Georgia's rush defense and rush scheme is probably the best in the country. Don't even just look at stats. Watch how these teams play, and you can really, really see how Georgia's scheme is by far one of the best in the country when it comes to rush defense. But yeah, KJ Jefferson just could not get going. Believe it or not, he had 8 carries for just 5 yards. You got to account for all the sacks that he had. I think he had 4. I think he got sacked 4 times, I believe. Adam Anderson had 1. Nakobe Dean had 2 sacks, unless they gave the sack to Wyatt. He may have had just 1.5 sacks, but still, Georgia's pass rush, another great game. Like I said, Georgia's defense, insane. You can't really say anything bad about this defense at all. Keely Ringo got to start at cornerback number 2, which was cool to see. He played pretty well. I think he gave up his first reception of the year, but that was for like a 6-yard gain, so I'm not too upset about that. But still, a total for Arkansas passing-wise, they went, I think, 10 of 16, yet for 87 yards. That's with 2 quarterbacks. Second QB, Hornsby, came in the fourth quarter when the game was already out of reach. What else is there to say on this game other than Georgia dominated this game from start to finish? This game was never close. Georgia owned time of possession as well, had 37 minutes, had the ball for 37 minutes on offense. Arkansas had it for 23. Jack Pod went 3 for 3, kicking the field goals. And yeah, Georgia completely dominated Arkansas on the at the line of scrimmage, both offensive line and defensive line, and Arkansas could not get anything going. Georgia wins 37-0.